Welcome. This is me. I'm Erik Gross, and I just want to thank you all for attending. We really appreciate you taking time this evening, if it's evening where you are, to spend some time, and hopefully you'll find this very helpful. I am a senior level software developer. I've been programming computers and mucking around with technology for several decades now. I'm a military veteran. I was in the US Navy, operated nuclear reactors, and was an electronics technician. And that's where I actually discovered that I could teach. I didn't know that before. When the Navy tells you to do something, you do it, whether you're going to be good at it or not. Turns out I ended up pretty good at it. And I'm also the co-founder of the Tech Academy, the organization that's putting on this class. And you'll learn a lot about us throughout the night and hopefully a lot of things of value. But anyway, that's me. We do have an assistant in the chat who'll be monitoring the questions, monitoring the chat and answering questions. We remove problematic students, but I don't anticipate any problems like that. We have really, really wonderful people that show up for these classes. So, all right. Now, we've already covered chat. Everybody's used it. Oh, awesome. We have people from Oman. I have been to Oman and the United Arab Emirates and Dubai and Saudi Arabia. That was wonderful, wonderful trip. All right. So here's the basic agenda. We'll have a short explanation of the Tech Academy, and then we'll get into our workshop. And again, our workshop is all about the truth about coding boot camps. And yes, I said earlier, I'm the co-founder of a software developer boot camp, and I'm very familiar with all three routes to get into technology: self-study, boot camp, university. And I've worked with people in all three and know about them all really well. And so I'm going to give you pretty objective data about boot camps. What's good about them? What's more challenging? So when we finish our workshop, we'll have a brief Q&A session, although I do monitor the chat during this presentation. So feel free to throw questions in chat, and if I can get to them during the presentation, I will. Otherwise, time permitting, when we're done with the workshop, we'll have a brief Q&A session, and then we'll give you some information about our boot camps. And we do have a free gift at the end, so please stick around until then. It's worth your time. Whole class will be about an hour. All right, so introduction to Tech Academy. Who are we? Well, we are a technology training company that delivers boot camps. Boot camps are intensive technology certification programs, and they're designed to prepare people for entry-level positions in tech. Typically, they'll last anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and they focus on practical, modern skills. That's what boot camps are. Now, at the Tech Academy, we've been delivering thorough, budget-friendly, flexible, and trusted coding boot camps for over a decade now. And these certification programs are cost-effective, they're self-paced, fully online coding boot camps that are tailored for beginners, people with no prior technical or coding knowledge. These certification programs cover in-demand skills for the tech industry. They're endorsed by stellar online reviews, and they're designed to fit around your personal schedule. We want to prepare you for your technology career with a well-rounded toolkit. You may or may not know this, but the average price in America for boot camps is around $13,500. Ours are under the national average. In fact, we have boot camps that start as low as $59.80 for tuition. All right, let me get my notes back. Hold on a second. Okay, I want to finish off this slide by just giving you our mission statement. Why are we here? What do we care about? The mission statement of the Tech Academy is to graduate entry-level technology professionals that excel in the basics of their field and thereafter have successful careers in the tech industry and whose actions raise industry standards and surpass client expectations. Our product is you working in tech. So that's what we're all about. So I want to lay down some proper expectations from the start. During this workshop, we'll give you simple definitions for technical terms. We'll explain technology-related concepts in plain English. This particular class does not have any coding. We do have free coding classes, and you can register for our next coding class on Meetup. In fact, we'll get you links to the next free class so you can enroll. In fact, we'll give you links to all of our online resources at the end. So tonight, I'll tell you all about coding boot camps, and I'm going to offer a transparent view into their history and their future, because we've been around since the very beginning of the boot camp industry. So we've got a pretty interesting perspective on it. All right, now, I don't think you're ready for this next picture, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Here is my technology mugshot from about 10, 11 years ago, back around when I first began training junior level software developers. I had a lot less gray in my hair But I also didn't have the unbelievable experience I've had helping people get into tech. So this is where it began about 10 or 11 years ago. Now, what I was doing at the time was I was working as a senior level software developer for IBM. And on the side, I would pull in software development contracts. I've always believed in having multiple sources of income. And so I pull in software development contracts. And what I found was that many of the contracts I would pull in, there was some really like high level, advanced things that I would really be called upon to do. But then when you get into the meat, the grind of building out a software program, there was like low level, almost grunt work tasks that would be perfect for an entry level or junior developer. Only problem was I couldn't find any. Like finding people that were at the very beginning of their career and or entry level was really, really difficult at the time. And so what I did was I decided to solve it myself. I started training people on the side and had almost a tutoring service to orient people to the fundamentals of software development so I could use them on the contract. Originally, it was not a boot camp. In fact, my vision was that I would just help people learn the fundamentals. They could help on projects. They could start making some money, and then maybe they'd go on to more self-study, or they'd go into university. They'd break into tech full time, right? But all that changed one afternoon when my son came home from high school, where he was in a coding class, right? And he said to me, "Dad, I want to do a developer boot camp." This is like the spring of 2013, right? He said, "Dad, I want to do a developer boot camp." And I said, "What is a developer boot camp?" And so he hands me this sheet of paper that had passed out of class, and it's a 8.5 by 11 describing what was called Dev Boot Camp. It's down in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they described this intensive, like 3 or 4 month training program, full time, 50, 60 hours a week, right? Where they would, if you could go in, and as long as you met their qualifications, they would push you through this program. And at the end of it, you would be an entry level web developer. I went, "Oh, that's interesting." I'd never heard of it before. In fact, it had only been around for about 5 or 6 months at that point. So I started researching this. And what I found out about boot camps is pretty interesting. I found out that one, they were a brand new thing. At that point, there were maybe 10 or 15 of them around the entire country, period, right? And I found that they were uniformly concentrating on throwing people into coding and having it be a super intensive experience where you kind of had to, basically quit your regular job and devote full time or more into this super tough, rigorous program. And they're going to try to turn you into an entry-level tech worker in a matter of a few months. But there were several of them. They were springing up, around the place, right? And I looked at that and went, okay, I've taught technology in the Navy. I'm a working software developer. Because of my tutoring, I know what it's like to be at the very beginning of your journey in technology. And I love teaching people. So I decided to turn that side activity I was building into a boot camp. And at this point, I want to explain how boot camps were originally run, right? They were, as I said, very intensive. They were at least 40 hours, if not 50 or 60 hours a week. They were in person always. They had very rigid schedules, and they would train people in what are called cohorts, where you'd get together, whoever signed up in a certain period of time, you wouldn't start them immediately. You just gather together a group, and then everyone would start as one group on the same day. And they would move people through a curriculum at the exact same pace. And many of these boot camps had entry testing. They required a certain level of coding knowledge before they'd even let you in the door. And this is what I was finding out about different boot camps. And again, there were 10 or 15 of them around the nation, right? Now, why were these boot camps even starting? Well, here's why. At the time, there were only 2 ways to get into technology. Either self-study, which is really rough, and I'll give you some data on that as we go through this, or the quote-unquote traditional route of going through a college or university education. Well, college or university education is super expensive, and more to the point, it wasn't meeting the industry's needs, just in sheer volume. At that point, 15 years ago or whatever, there was only about 40,000 people a year graduating from colleges and universities in America into technology. into information technology, computer jobs, right? Only about 40,000 people a year. The problem was that we needed about 100,000 people a year in technology. So we're upside down by a very, very wide margin. And so that's why these people in the Bay Area decided, hey, there's all these jobs and not enough people to fill them. And people are hungry to get into technology, but they don't want to spend 4 years going to school. Why don't we try to get them in? We'll take a summer and we'll try to get them into technology. And so that's what I really looked at. It's like, oh, I think I can get into that and really, really help people because I really like helping people. So what I want to do now is I want to pivot a little bit and I want to look at, in this whole bootcamp arena, how does artificial intelligence actually play into this? And I think you'll understand the pivot here in a moment. Obviously, artificial intelligence is super in the news right now, but for a reason. First of all, briefly, what is artificial intelligence? Well, artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and learn like humans. AI enables machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, things like visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and language translation. That's what AI is. The most popular example of AI in the planet right now is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is what's called a language model. That's an AI program. It's an artificial intelligence computer program that's been trained on billions of pieces of written human communication. And the central feature of a ChatGPT, the central feature of a language model is to predict text, is to predict written content. So you can put a question or something into it, and based on what it's been given, it can predict what's the most logical output. And if you've used ChatGPT at all, you know it's pretty powerful. It's also designed to understand and respond to a huge range of queries with informative and contextually appropriate answers, so it's useful for conversation, content creation, information retrieval, all kinds of things. Now, why do I bring this up? Because this is a form of automation. You're using a computer to greatly speed up something that people have done manually for a long time. And fear of automation has existed for centuries. As examples, in the past, like 200 years ago, there were what are called mechanical looms. A loom, if you're not familiar with it, is a device used for making cloth. It's something that every person on earth needs. We clothe ourselves with cloth, hence the name, right? Well, looms were, human operated. When mechanical looms came out, where there was a machine, a motor that could actually operate the loom, textile workers, textile meaning people that make cloth, were real freaked out. They feared they'd lose their jobs as these new mechanical looms increased productivity and needed fewer workers. What's happened? Well, in fact, millions of people are employed in textiles. It didn't end up ruining people's lives. Steam engines. When steam engines came out in about 1830, 1840, factory workers were worried that steam-powered machinery would replace their manual labor. Let's flash forward to the early 1900s with the assembly line. Skilled craftsmen used to working with metal and machinery were concerned that the assembly line would de-skill their work and reduce their employment opportunities. A little while before that, there was the telegraph. Wires strung across long distances where you could send electronic signals across. They were simple electronic signals, but they were really valuable. Well, guess what? That scared some people. Postal workers and long-distance communication professionals feared job losses as the telegraph system automated message delivery. Another one, farm tractors. Something as simple as a tractor had a lot of pushback and protest. Agricultural laborers were concerned that tractors would reduce the demand for manual farm work, when in fact, the demand for agricultural workers did nothing but skyrocket later. Automatic teller machines, ATMs. You won't believe it. There's such a accepted part of life now. They were protested against. Bank tellers feared that ATMs would reduce the need for their services in dispensing cash, so they might not have jobs. Computers, more to the present time, clerical workers, and what are called calculators. A calculator, by the way, used to be a job description. A calculator was a person who was employed to do tremendous amount of complex mathematics. That was a calculator. It was a job. Now we know it as a physical device you can hold in your hand. But the whole point is that clerical workers and people employed as calculators feared that computers would take over their data processing and calculation tasks. Then let's look at photocopiers. Typists and clerks worried that photocopiers would make manual copying of documents obsolete, reducing their job opportunities. And again, let's look what really happened. Are there still farmers, still agricultural workers? Absolutely. Textile workers, bank tellers, factory workers? Yes, all these jobs are still here. The point is, and this is critical, it's been common for centuries for media to generate fear of technological advancement and replacement. This has been going on a very long time. So you can either buy into it and live in fear, or learn these advancements and use them to their advantage. Yes, these advancements, every single one I mentioned, they all altered how we get work done and changed job descriptions, but there's always going to be a human component. After all, who created artificial intelligence in the first place? Where is the supposed intelligence drawn from? That's right, humans. Another point you need to think with is that artificial intelligence can make errors. It is not perfect. It can make mistakes. In fact, if you look at ChatGPT, there's a disclaimer right beneath the box you put your input in. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Consider checking important information, right? So here's the reason why. Any complex tool like an artificial intelligence can only rely on the data the user puts into it. And so if you put in poor data or ask it poor questions, or you poorly describe the work you need done, you're going to get poor results out. So what this comes down to is that the value of a response in artificial intelligence is directly related to the quality of the instructions entered into it. How does this relate to our subject tonight of boot camps and technology? It's this: a thorough education and experience in technology gives you the insight needed to create high quality instructions. It lets you leverage this extremely new but very powerful tool of artificial intelligence to its fullest. In fact, it makes you more valuable on the job. The ability to write code is necessary to evaluate code generated by artificial intelligence. This is a big one, because if you look in the news, you might see some silly news stories about how programmers are never going to be needed again, and artificial intelligence can make everything you need to. No, not at all. Yes, AI tools are really good at generating code, but you absolutely need a trained programmer to evaluate that code and then integrate it properly into any computer program. If you don't do that, you are introducing extreme risk into your programs. In fact, students learn how to create artificial intelligence and to control it on our AI boot camp. All right. Now, I mentioned these things briefly. I'm about to transition over to the 3 routes into technology. So I'm going to give you a little bit more description of each of these 3 routes. How do you get into technology? Well, there's 3 routes, right? There's college or university, boot camp, and self-study. Let's look at, in terms of AI, what it would be like to try to use ChatGPT or a similar tool as your quote-unquote instructor for self-study. I've experimented with this, and I've worked with entry-level students to experiment with this. And here's what it comes down to. ChatGPT, by the way, I'm a huge fan. Just want to confess, I'm a huge fan of ChatGPT. I use it and similar tools daily. Here's the challenge if you're using ChatGPT as a quote-unquote instructor for self-study. You don't know the right questions to ask. And you'll find that most of the quote-unquote answers you get out of it aren't well explained and use technical terms and concepts that you don't yet know. And it can be more confusing than less, because you actually don't have a human being who has experience coding to help explain all these things. So I've seen it happen. But back into these 3 routes into tech: college or university, boot camp, or self-study? Let's rank the pros and cons of each. Again, I've endeavored to be extremely objective about this. If we look at these things that might be important in learning how to code, well, the first one is computer science fundamentals, like the fundamentals of how do computers work and how do programs get put together and what is the engineering behind computers. Why does this matter? Well, the type of problems you can solve and the scope of the problems you can solve as a technology worker is limited in a great degree by your knowledge of what's inside the machine and how digital computers and software work at a fundamental level. So covering computer science fundamentals is really important in becoming a successful technology worker. How well do colleges do here? Probably 4 out of 5. Like, this is one of the chief advantages of college is you've got 4 years. You can go deep into computer science fundamentals. Boot camps, on average, I would say about 3 out of 5, but it varies greatly from program to program. If you're considering a boot camp, it's one of the key things you want to look into is to what depth do they go into computer science fundamentals? And finally, how does self-study rank in this? I'd give it about a 2 out of 5. And the reason for that is if you're trying to self-study computer science fundamentals, the available resources out on the internet and elsewhere for computer science fundamentals are amongst the most confusing, horribly designed study materials I have ever seen in all of my 55 years. It's stunning how difficult it is to find extremely simple, clear definitions and explanations for computer science principles. If you've done any study on your own, you'll probably know this to be true. In fact, Stanford does a free intro computer science class. You can go look it up right now. Watch that first video and you will be so lost. They just don't do a good job of explaining this. So self-study is really rough to get through this. All right, next thing you're gonna need if you're gonna be a successful technology worker, like a software developer, an engineer, a coder, right? You need a well-rounded set of basic technology skills. And what do I mean by well-rounded? Well, there's no set standard for that, but here's some things you definitely should know if you're gonna work in technology. How software is made, how the web works, what we call the quote unquote holy trinity of the web, 3 technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Another thing you should know is version control, which is technologies and software that help control the different versions of files when multiple people are contributing to a project. You have to know how that works. Another thing to know is how to use what's called the integrated development environment. This is a specialized computer program that has all the tools in one place to make software. Another thing you should know about is the fundamentals of what are called relational databases. A database is just a collection of electronic data organized in some fashion. Relational databases is where you store data, where data of one type, let's say customers, and data of another type, say products, has a relationship defined between them. Another thing you're going to want to know in terms of a well-rounded set of basic tech skills, a general purpose programming language. Some programming language that's versatile enough, you can use it for most of your software development tasks. These are languages like JavaScript, Python, C#, Java, these sort of things. Another thing you're going to want to know is at least the principles of what's called object-oriented programming. Now, we don't have enough time to go deep and nerdy on object-oriented programming, but it is a style or an approach to making computer programs that emulates how the real world works in terms of the relationships between different types of things and objects and people and entities. You're going to need to know the principles of that to be a good software developer. You're also going to want to know what's called full stack development. What does full stack mean? Well, it means you can do software development work in 3 different areas. The front end, think like a web page, the front end, which is what the user sees and interacts with. The back end, which is where the computer programs to handle all the logic, the decision making and everything of the program is, right? And then the database where all the data is stored. Front end, back end, and database. A full stack developer knows how to do software development work in all 3 of those areas so they can be used in a much more versatile way. Another thing you're going to want to have under your belt for a well-rounded set of basic technology skills is the basics of project management. How is software made in a modern method? And finally, you're going to want to have skills in what's called developer workflow. What is the day in, day out process for getting work done in software development teams? How do teams collaborate when you have several people working on one computer program? How do you have teams that are responsible for multiple computer programs? How do you manage that? All right, so this well-rounded set of basic tech skills. Let's look at how well college, boot camp, and self-study equips you for this. Now, this is going to be shocking. As I've found this out, it was actually surprising and painful for me. Colleges only do about a 2 out of 5 on giving you this well-rounded set of basic technology skills. They rarely give you enough practical experience to understand how this stuff works. They don't teach you how the web works. They don't go deep into database fundamentals. You don't use an integrated development environment very often. You don't do full stack development very often. They don't teach you how to project management. It's stunning. They teach you a lot, but in this area, a well-rounded set of basic tech skills, I've taught a lot of college graduates. It's not that strong. Boot camps, this is the main reason they exist, right? How do you give a well-rounded set of tech skills? Because we want people to be useful on day one. I'd rank boot camps about a 4 out of 5. Self-study, again, it's about a 2 out of 5. So a lot of these things are really rough to try to put together in a self-study program. All right. Another thing you're going to want to have as you break into technology is current in-demand tools and languages. And what I mean by that is not just tools and languages and skills that are in demand now, but tools and languages that have some degree of longevity. This is actually the most difficult area for colleges to handle, but it's not really their fault. Getting curriculum changes done at a college takes years. It's a really rough process with a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy. And so they can't keep up with current in-demand tools and technologies. They can't get them into the curriculum quickly enough. And so you'll find yourself studying valuable stuff, but usually 5, 10, 15 years old. So I give them about a 2 out of 5. Boot camps, absolutely 5 out of 5. That's all they teach is current in-demand tools and languages. They have to teach what is needed by the industry or their graduates don't get hired. Self-study, I give this about a 3 out of 5 or maybe even higher, because if you're paying attention doing self-study in computer programming, you're seeing on the web, on YouTube, on different tutorials, what's popular, what's in demand. So self-study is pretty good on this. All right, let's talk about cost of education. There's no two ways about it. There's clear-cut winners and losers here. College is 1 out of 5. College is extremely expensive. Now, valuable in many regards, but it costs a lot of money. Low end, it'll cost you about $100,000 for a 4-year degree. High end, $250,000 to $300,000 for a 4-year degree, depending upon where you go, right? Boot camps, I give them about a 3 out of 5. I mean, it costs thousands of dollars. Some of them are, like I said, the nationwide average is about $13,500. That means there's some that are $20,000 or $25,000, and there's some, real low end things that might be $3,000 or $4,000. What we do at the school, by the way, is we have self-paced boot camps that start as low as like $1,000, and there's super affordable ways to get into tech. But in terms of just all boot camps, I give them about a 3 out of 5. Self-study is the clear winner. It costs next to nothing to do self-study, that's the right route for a lot of people. That's fine. And it's great. It doesn't cost a dime or super, super, super cheap in terms of self-study and computer programming. All right. Another thing you're going to need to have as you break into technology is knowing how to work in a collaborative environment. Now, every college has differences here, but in general, they're about 2 or 3 out of 5. They're not set up well to do collaborative software development. Multiple developers or engineers all contributing to one computer program. They're there as a teaching organization, not as a practical software creation organization. Now, here and there's really wonderful exceptions. The Harvey Mudd College, by the way, in California, has a phenomenal practical program. And here and there's other colleges that really stand out with a really good, collaborative approach, teaching how to develop software collaboratively. Boot camps, generally about a 4 out of 5. They vary a little bit, But it's one of the key things you're going to get out of a boot camp is working with your fellow students on a software developer project so you can see what that teamwork is like. Self-study, this one's really rough. I give it about a 1 out of 5. It's very hard to find other people that are self-studying that are about the same place as you are in their study, and to have some sort of a project you can collaborate on and know that you're doing it in a manner that is standard in the industry. So it's about a 1 out of 5. All right, let's talk about length of education. College it's rough. They 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending upon the program. So I give them about a 1 or 2 out of 5. Boot camp, of course, that's why they were made, is to be short, fast, intensive programs. Give them a 5 out of 5. Self-study, this one depends a lot on you, but if you're aggressively like leaning into it, you know, you can get through it faster. I give you about a 3 out of 5 for length of education. Now, this one's super important. Knowing the technology of getting hired is also key to breaking into the field, right? It's one thing to learn how to code. It's another thing to know how to get hired. I give colleges about a 2 out of 5 on this. They have some sort of help with internships and such, but they don't have specialized classes on how to craft a resume, how to do a phone interview, how to do a technical interview, how to do a whiteboard interview, how to do a panel interview. It's not what they do is prep people for this. Again, there are exceptions. So I give college about 2 out of 5. Boot camps, usually, if it's a quality program, about a 4 out of 5. We place a tremendous amount of attention on this area because boot camps are that's what they're motivated by. They're saying to you, hey, get through this program so you can get a job, right? Self-study, I'd say about a 2 out of 5. That one just depends on your own. It's rough when you're all alone trying to learn that technology of getting hired. I will say this. We are the only boot camp that has both job placement specialists, like experts on staff, they're job placement specialists, and a job placement course. There's an actual specialized course that you do on the boot camp just to learn all the skills about how to get hired. All right, so what does this look like in terms of a scorecard? Boot camps are around a 28, self-study 18, college or university 14. Now, again, there's a lot of flexibility in this, and there's always exceptions to each one. You can find a really, really poor boot camp or a fantastic boot camp. You can, be super aggressive in self-study and find a bunch of really great resources, or go slow and have a really hard go of it. Or you can find a phenomenal college or university that provides a lot of collaborative practical experience, or you can find a really cheap university that does a really poor job. There's a lot of range here. But on average, this is what we're looking at, okay? So, who is right for which route? Who is the college or university best for? It's best for those that have a fair amount of time and money to, and this is important, to lay in a solid foundation. I'm not going to denigrate college or university at all. You learn tremendously valuable knowledge. The foundation you have in computer science and how to solve super difficult problems, it's incredible, right? But what you'll need to solve, because they can't, what you'll need to solve is how do you get current skills when you're trying to get into the job market? We actually have a lot of college graduates who end up doing our boot camp, and it's like the best of both worlds. Who is the boot camp best for? It's best for people that have very little time and a moderate amount of money. You will need to fill in gaps, though. Once you get your first job, you'll need to, in a dedicated manner, start filling in holes in some of those deeper core fundamental computer science concepts that there's just not enough time to cover in a boot camp. Those kinds of things that a college or university would have given you. And then who is self-study for? It's best for people to have a lot of time and very little money. What you will need to solve is figuring out where your gaps are. One of the worst things about doing self-study is you don't know what you don't know. So you need to be very diligent about finding out where your gaps in knowledge are, and you have to figure out on your own how to get practical experience in collaborative software development. All right. Now, let's talk about free versus paid. I know I kind of touched on this a little bit with self-study, but here's a couple additional factors to consider when it comes to paying for an education versus using free resources. One thing we should all just acknowledge, I'll be totally upfront about it, is free learning resources have always existed. Whether you're learning a skill from a family member or an associate, or you're walking down to your local library. And of course, we've all now heard the idea you can learn anything on YouTube. there's always been unpaid access to knowledge. That's more true today than it's ever been, right? And recent developments in artificial intelligence have just advanced free learning resources. So why not just learn specialized technical skills like coding using existing free resources? And in fact, you can, but I would ask you these questions to consider. Would you hire an unlicensed contractor who watched YouTube videos about building roofs instead of a licensed, experienced contractor? Or would you rather receive surgery from someone who learned by chatting with ChatGPT, or from someone with a medical degree? Would you fly with a pilot who learned through flight simulators and online forums, or one with a commercial pilot's license and formal training? And is a company more likely to hire a software developer who learned coding from free resources, or one who graduated from a reputable coding program? Now, granted, in all industries, there are self-taught prodigies. I've worked with some of them. It's sometimes amazing. I worked at an aerospace company about 14, 15 years ago, and they had a purely self-taught developer in there that had a stunning mind, great coder, right? But they're the exception rather than the rule. The Tech Academy is a licensed career school authorized to certify students in a wide variety of technology subjects, and we've been doing so for over 10 years. The fact of the matter is this: in terms of breaking into a technical field, all free education breaks down for these reasons. One, lack of structure. Free education often lacks a structured curriculum, which makes comprehensive learning challenging. You're picking all different things from a bunch of different places. Two, there's no expert guidance. Self-teaching typically doesn't provide access to qualified instructors that can really hinder deep understanding of the material. Limited practical experience. Free resources rarely offer hands-on training with industry standard equipment and tools. Next thing is no formal credentials. Self-taught skills may not be formally recognized, which can affect your employability. One of the bigger ones is fewer networking opportunities. Free education generally lacks the networking benefits found in formal programs. Then there's no job placement support. This one's huge. Self-learners miss out on job placement services and career support offered by trade schools. And then there's the environment. Often it's a distracting environment. Learning at home can come with many distractions, affecting focus and productivity. But here's one of the biggest ones: low accountability. Free education lacks the accountability and motivation that paid programs provide, making it harder to stay committed. But again, and as I've mentioned before, most importantly, you don't know what you don't know. With Tech Academy boot camps, you're paying for a proven path into tech. This includes a structured curriculum, experienced instructors, and job placement support. So, are coding boot camps worth it? Obviously, I'm biased here. So instead of just telling you, yes, I think there are, here's some facts and figures from coursereport.com, a trusted authority in the bootcamp industry. They've been around almost as long as the entire industry has. They're awesome. The first piece of data from them is that most university computer science programs are 4 years long. You can expect your tuition to ring in at about $163,000 on average. The average bachelor's degree holder earns about $59,000 a year. So, college or university, 4 years, about $160,000 on average. And on average, a bachelor's degree holder earns about $59,000 a year. On the other hand, coding boot camps are about 14 weeks long on average. And tuition is about $13,500, as we said. Again, Tech Academy tuition costs are actually much lower than the national average. But here's one of the biggest ones. Coding bootcamp alumni earn approximately 51% higher salaries in their first position after graduating compared to their previous jobs. So, let me say that again. You come into a boot camp, and when you go out, on average, you're making about 51% more than when you went in, which is pretty cool. Other data and this is just the whole industry. Remember, Course Report is all about the entire coding industry, boot camp industry, right? On average, coding school graduates earn $70,000 after their first job following the boot camp. That rises to $80,000 for the second job after the boot camp, and $99,000 for the third job. So you can see the progression. Coding boot camp work. It's not just us. There's hundreds of them, and this is the data that CourseReport.com pulled together for the entire industry. In addition to the salary, many boot camp alumni find their jobs are really more satisfying and flexible. They have better quality of life, and it's going through a boot camp that makes it worth it for them. All right, so I've looked at the chat. I don't see any questions so far. I'm going to open up for just a moment. Any questions so far? All right, so sit tight. The free gift is coming. And I just want to wrap up with the title of tonight's event. What's the truth about coding boot camps? The truth is that they are valuable for people looking for a rapid, relatively affordable route into tech that comes with certification. And the other truth is that, like any company, there's varying degrees of quality between coding boot camps. So let's reiterate what sets the Tech Academy apart. We have 12 online coding boot camps covering a wide range of technology subjects, including artificial intelligence, computer programming, website development, cybersecurity, design, data science, video game development, mobile app development. In fact, we have more certification programs than any other coding boot camp on earth. And these boot camps are self-paced, yet instructor supported. That means you can set your own study schedule. So they're flexible. You can enroll 365 days a year. The content is well-rounded and in-depth. The boot camps, as I say, are affordable. They're priced under the national average. All of our boot camp programs include job placement training and assistance. But most importantly, they're designed for absolute beginners. No technology knowledge or coding experience is required, so you don't have to be a nerd to get through our programs. We consistently land on every major best coding bootcamp list. Our average review rating across all major bootcamp review websites is 4.8 out of 5 stars, and that's based on student and graduate feedback. Now, there are barriers to entry. We've talked about them a little bit. To reiterate, money's a barrier. It can cost thousands of dollars to get into boot camps. We offer multiple financing options, including a big upfront discount and tuition options, including monthly payments, all kinds of options for any financial condition. But the fact is that a Tech Academy bootcamp is an investment in yourself. You're giving yourself a set of skills that are super valuable on the market, and it'll last you through your entire career. Another barrier to get into a bootcamp is time. There's a lot to learn. Some boot camps, as I said, they train you in cohorts, or some boot camps require you to attend in person, all trying to solve this time problem. We've solved it with flexibility. Our programs are fully online, so you don't have to come in. And you can choose your study schedule. Part-time studies allowed, so you can study concurrently to holding down a job or going to school. And finally, another barrier to get into a boot camp, you've got to have some technical interest or ability. One thing you may have encountered is feeling like the technology education materials you've looked at on your own are too hard. That's not you. This happens because some educators, some technology trainers, assume knowledge on the part of the student. They don't remember what it's like to be right at the beginning of the journey. With our programs, we've eliminated that. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to have a bunch of technology experience to get through. No tech background is needed to enroll. So here's the central question I have for you. Well, a couple precursors. Are you working, say, in a dead-end job? And I don't mean dead-end like it's a horrible job, but I just mean when you look up at the top income potential at your job or the lifestyle potential of your job, is it not going to meet what you need in the long run? Or maybe you're unemployed. Maybe you want to work from home and have a different sort of lifestyle balance. Maybe you want more time with your loved ones. The whole point is it time for a career change? If it is, the Tech Academy is the solution. We are career change experts. That orange bridge you see, that logo is there because we want to be the route into technology for everyone, to cross that bridge into skill and confidence in using technology. At this point, we have over a decade of experience in breaking people into tech. Most Tech Academy grads make $30 an hour on average in their first job. And we have over 1,000 graduates working in tech at everywhere from small businesses, medium-sized businesses, to huge giants like Nike and Facebook and Disney and Uber and Epic Games. We have graduates everywhere. As a reminder, we have open enrollment, so you can start anytime. And I do encourage you to enroll now. Now, I'm about to show you something very cool. For people that enroll in the month of July, there are some very special gifts we put together for you. The first one is for upfront payments, you get a full 50% off the tuition discount. Right off the bat, we'll cut 50% off of it. And by the way, if you're in America and you do that upfront and you need a computer to do the training, maybe you don't have one, we'll give you a refurbished laptop. Also, for July enrollments, there's no sales tax. I mean, we'll pay the taxes for you because taxes still need to be paid, but that doesn't go on to you. Also, you get a complete physical set of our coding books and our coding dictionary that you can use while you're studying. They'll be there with you at your house. We send them right to you. We'll also give you, and this is amazing, our career planning guide. This is essentially the entire blueprint for how to plan the first 3 years of your career once you get hired, so that you are a solid foundation on a really strong technology career. What do you concentrate on the first 6 months, the first 18 months, the first 36 months? It's all laid out step by step, what to focus on and when. So you got a blueprint for career success. It's Jack and I, my co-founder, we put everything we've learned into this guide over decades. You also get 3 months of free access to what's called the Tech Academy Accelerator. This is a phenomenal subscription service that includes weekly workshops with me, deep dive technical workshops designed to accelerate your career. They're open voice and chat, lots of Q&A. They're a lot of fun. You get 3 months of free access to that. And this is the big one, unlimited job placement assistance. You will work with our job placement personnel for as long as it takes to get that first job. We'll be there for you. What is all that worth? Well, oh, by the way, you also get a full year of access to your bootcamp materials. So even after you're done and graduated and working, you can go back and review and have all that to hand. What's all that worth? Well, depending upon the bootcamp you choose, that 50% off could be worth $6,000 to $10,000. That sales tax could save you $500 to $1,400, depending upon which one you use. The value of the free books and dictionary is $100. The value of that career planning guide is easily $500. Frankly, I've seen what happens in careers. If you implement those things in the guide, it'll earn you a lot more than that. The value of those 3 months of free access to the Tech Academy Accelerator is $30. And this is huge. You essentially get skilled career consultant help for as long as it takes for you to get hired. And I know what it costs for expert career advice out there. This is worth $5,000 easy. And you get a full year. Remember, it'll take you a matter of months to get through your boot camp, but you get access to all the materials for a full year. That itself is worth thousands of dollars. So, depending upon the boot camp you choose, because again, we have 12 of them, this savings, and this is a July savings, this is not something we're going to do permanently, right? Is worth anywhere between $15,000 and $22,000, depending upon what it is. And we're doing this because we want our summer to be massive. We know that people are like, look, school starts up in September. We want people to have a summer of learning and career planning. In fact, if you start now, then before the end of the year, you could be in your new job making $30, $40 an hour, and it changes your life. So how do you take advantage of this? What do you do? Well, this form, we'll get you this link. I'll put it in the chat. Oh, there it is. Awesome. So if you look at the chat, grab that link. It'll take you to a form where you can apply for more information. It's a super simple form, couple pieces of data. And following that, once you've done that, filled out that form, there's really valuable, informative videos and articles that will tell you everything about our programs and how they work in even more detail than we're able to cover in tonight's workshop, right? And there's even an optional step in there you can book a call with our admissions staff and get all of your questions answered. So click on that link and apply. I'm going to take a moment here to have a sip of water. I've been talking a fair bit. And by the way, if you click on that link, and it takes you to like a login form, that means you already have an account with us. And you can see some instructions on the slide on what the password and everything will be. All right, I'll wait just a minute here. I want to talk about a referral program really, really briefly. Since our graduates love us, referrals are one of the top enrollment sources for us historically. And so years ago, we put in place a 5% commission payment for all enrollments that come from referral. In other words, we will pay you for referring people to us if they sign up for the school. It's not just for graduates. You can, in fact, do this. In a moment, we're going to give you an email, which is how we're going to communicate about you getting your free gift. In that email, you can send referrals in. We keep track of that, and we pay out commission, the commissions on this every week. I talked briefly about this before. I'll give you a little more detail. We have 7 publications, including 3 Learn Coding Basics in Hours books, a coding book for kids and young adults. The Technology Basics Dictionary explains thousands of technology terms in simple, clear manner. We have the Project Management Handbook, covers how you make software, right? And You Are Not Stupid, Computers and Technology Simplified. This is a massive book with simple, clear explanations for it. It just removes all the mystery from computers and technology. It's valuable for you, but also if you end up being the tech support person for all of your friends and neighbors and loved ones, give them this book, have them read it, and they're not going to need you for tech support anymore. It's really, really good. All right, so we mentioned a free gift. It is our Project Management Handbook. This is actually really cool. It explains how software is made, whether it's in a technology company or a company that needs software and makes it in-house. How do they make software? Who are the people involved? What does the process look like? How do they collaborate? It's all explained in very simple, clear terms in this book. We can send you a copy of this. Now, unfortunately, this is for US only. I apologize, right? But if you're in the US and you'll email us your full name and your full mailing address, we will send you a copy of this book right to your house. Christina, can you drop the email in? There it is. If you look at the chat, we've dropped in there the email address to send the information to. Again, send us your name and your mailing address. We'll send you a copy of this. You can also include in that email, by the way, any further questions you have for us or any referrals that you have. I'll wait one moment for people to fill that out or to send the email. Get a copy of it. It's a really good book. It's also kind of fascinating to learn how software is made. What do the teams look like? How do they collaborate back and forth? All right. Now I mentioned links. If you'll go to Linktree, a service that collects links in one place, right? In fact, I think I can click on it and you'll see this is our Linktree right here. Okay. And on here are links to our free educational YouTube video playlist, to our books and dictionary, to our upcoming meetups, right? Here's meetup events. All of our social media accounts are right up here. You can see them, right? So please follow us on social media and invite your friends to future meetups. And in fact, by the way, if you want a chance to win your own copy of You Are Not Stupid, our flagship book, Every week we pick a winner to get their own copy of that. All you have to do to get into the running for that is tag us on social media with a link to our next event. So if you go here to meetup event, find our next one and post it on social media and tag us, we give out a free copy of You Are Not Stupid every week to one person who does that at random. All right. So thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. We'd love to see you at our next classes. So go to that link tree and sign up for our next free classes. We have, in fact, it'll show you on there. We've got one with the actual coding that's coming up really soon. And again, if you want more information about who we are and what we do, fill out the form that you see at this link and go through the steps afterwards. Watch the videos, read the articles, just find out as much as you can about who and what we are and see if we're the right fit. It could change your life. Thank you all for taking the time. I super appreciate it. Have a good night or good day, depending upon where you are in the world. Bye.